Hey, what's up, guys? Little Man with a Big Opinion here. The two things that I was gonna look at today, or the two things that we're gonna kind of discuss, is I've got one story. I'm gonna pull up the news, just kind of see if there's anything worth talking about. Uh, and then I was gonna talk about, the fitness stuff going on. So, subscribe to the channel. That helps us out. Share it with a friend or family member. Like the video if you enjoy it. Dislike it if you don't like it. And let's go ahead and hop right into it. Called my doctor, and I'm getting a referral for an MRI on my knee. I think I jumped into running and preparing for this 50K a little too quickly. Let's make sure you can see, even the whole bald head. It has a very nice pain after 2 to 3 miles. And, I even went on a hike carrying no weight. And about 2.5 miles in of this 5 mile hike, I was feeling it. I also feel sore, my shoulders and biceps, triceps, and chest feel a little sore from doing an upper body workout 2 days ago. And last night I did legs, and they also feel sore today. So that kind of tells me, hey, keep doing what you're doing. We're 2 weeks into the new year, and I really started this big push. Like first week of December, and I'm down about 2 pounds. So, I also kind of see some definition in the stomach, not the abs yet, but that like taper. So the weight that I'm losing definitely looks like it is fat based. So I'll continue with that. I enjoy that. So as a prepper, why does this matter? Well, we need to be prepared for whatever. And I think physical fitness plays a very large role in being prepared. If you get winded walking up a flight of stairs, you should probably walk up more flights of stairs so you don't get winded. A lot of job descriptions talk about, like, it's generic to say being able to lift like 40 pounds for a short distance. Like, even when I became a teacher, that was on the list. But it's also about your health. I'm not that kind of channel that's like, you should be able to do XYZ and, be this percentage body fat. Anything that is helping your physical fitness, I'll say is a good thing. Keep doing it. Looking at the news, there is renewed push for the United States acquiring Greenland. This first article says buying it could cost as much as $700 billion, which, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a terrible number. There's only one group out there that's really like explaining this very well. The United States has tried to buy it before. We tried to do trade deals before. Uh, 57,000 people live there. Uh, we've got military bases there. Uh, it's one of those things that I think they're more upset because of the president that is wanting to increase this push. People didn't treat Harry Truman like this. Uh, at the very least, they do want a increased military presence, and the Danish have discussed. That's a very real possibility. We can agree with that. The protesting in Iran is still going on. The computer is freezing. But essentially, there is some sort of uprising going on. Some estimates have said 2,500 activists have been killed. Other numbers have been higher. There's reports of shutting down the internet because they don't want the world to see what they're doing. They're hunting down people that have access to Starlink because they don't want stuff going out. This one from 3 Hours says the death toll is at 2,500. I saw something yesterday that said it was upwards of 20,000. There's a bunch of pictures out on X and all over the place. And it's very, very difficult to know what of that is real, what of that is AI. And then, it's even almost more disheartening when you see something come out later and it's like, this picture is real, but this is from a 2015 event. Or this picture is real, but this happened in this country, 800 miles away. So we're almost waiting and kind of seeing what's going on there. This article, Iran plans swift trials and executions of protesters. This one says the United States could start to hit military bases. It almost kind of seems like we're looking at another regime change. The U.S. is withdrawing some personnel from bases in the Middle East. As it's been warned by its neighbors, it would hit American bases if Washington strikes. Iran's leadership is trying to put down the worst domestic unrest that it's ever faced. They're trying to deter U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated threats to intervene on behalf of anti-government protests. This is a increasingly used saying in news stuff, speaking on a condition of anonymity. We've heightened regional tensions. Some people have said, or some people have been advised to leave the main U.S. air base in Qatar. There's no immediate threat of or no immediate signs of large-scale evacuation of troops. Skip that. I don't want your ad. This article just says thousands of people have been reported killed. Iran has said 2,000 people. A civil rights group is saying 3,800. That thing that I just told, or that article I just showed you earlier said 2,500. That number kind of means something to me because the town I live in is 5,000 people. So I can kind of think about if just half the population of the town that I live in just disappeared. Um, we'll have to see what goes on with this. It's one of those developing things where it's been going on for a little bit now, and I feel like we almost know less today than we did when it started. But, the main thing that I want to talk about in this video is my grandma gave me a canvas tool bag on Monday. And she said, here, I guess your grandpa had more than I thought he did. And on the side of the tool bag, it said socket wrenches. I got a little excited. More tools. Open the bag up, and it is full of ammunition. And there was, probably 5 or 6 different calibers in the bag. Wasn't, completely stuffed to full capacity. But, he's got 2 or 3 calibers of his handguns. And he's got 2 or 3 calibers of his rifles. My grandma chalked it up to, Grandpa had all of his guns in a safe. He kept them loaded. But he had a second safe that was, full top to bottom of ammunition. I know he'd been buying this stuff for a while because some of the boxes, the artwork and stuff on them definitely makes it look like these are from, early 2000s, even the 90s. Grandma chalks this up to, he had according to her, ungodly amount of ammunition, which, to be fair, he had a decent number of rounds. And this was his way of trying to hide the fact that he was buying even more of it. I know for a fact that he bought ammunition every month when he got his paycheck, because I've seen his Midway USA account. That got me and my cousin thinking, after she handed it to me, we were sitting down and watching the show and just kind of chit-chatting. And we've been helping my grandma clean up her house, do renovations, get rid of old stuff that hasn't been used in a while. And he pointed out, because these are like the Craftsman canvas bags, mostly black, red trim. And he's like, your grandpa has a lot of those bags. And I've seen the inside of a lot of them, and a lot of them do have tools. And we've done a really good job of organizing the tools. And, they've got like a tool closet where we've, lined everything up and consolidated it, and we know where it is. That way it's not just sitting all over the place. And, Grandpa is really good about, you ask him for a tool, he'll tell you exactly where it is. 90% of the time it's not in the tool shed, but he knew where it was. So we went out to this little tool room, started opening up these bags. There's about 11 of them. And 4 more of them that have, something tool written on the side of them. He used the silver Sharpie. Looked just like the bag that my grandma gave me. More ammunition. More of it in, that 5 to 8 caliber range. A couple boxes of this, couple boxes of that. And we can't know for certain, but I know one of these he kept in his closet. Even the closet that had his ammo safe in it. One of them, sat beside his desk in the computer room. I remember that very strongly. And, we're making an educated guess that, I'm pretty sure one was in the living room. We know he kept one in the truck. And, as a prepper, he taught me something there. I think my grandmother is partially correct that, his ammo safe is full and he's trying to hide the more ammo in plain sight. If someone came into the house, they would assume that that's a tool bag. He's got a nice mixture of his stuff in them because he's not moving that safe. He could open it up and fill very large containers with the contents of it, and it would take him a while to, cart it off somewhere. These bags, he could probably carry them 2 at a time. And have no problem. He could also, in a pinch, just about any room that he's in, he can pick one up and take it with him. And he was always the type that, he kept one handgun in his camera bag and he kept one in his truck. I think these were, kind of set up as go bags. I've got a nice mixture of all of my stuff. If, everything else fails, I can, pick this up and know I've got a little bit of everything. And it's also just that idea of not putting all your eggs in one basket. So, as long as I knew him, I never looked in any of these bags. Never thought about doing that. And in his infinite wisdom, he never told anyone. So, I think there's a lesson in there. All of my ammo, for the most, I keep a few boxes in the truck, but all of my stuff stays in, ammo cans each round. So, something to think about. Let me know your thoughts down below. As I said before, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends and family. Like it if you learned something, dislike it if you think this is dumb. Ask all of your questions. And I'll catch you on the next one.